Had a wonderful Zoom call with a couple of my friends tonight, and we were talking about the book of Job. I wish I could talk in person, but given circumstances these days, this is the best we can do. So this is it. And the book of Job has always been one of my favorite books for various reasons, but I can tell you honestly, and I said it before, there's been no book in the Bible that's been more misunderstood and misrepresented than the book of Job. This is stuff has been taken so out of context, so misrepresented God incredibly. It's just absolutely amazing. I made a reference before that you look at everything on the page. Everything on the page is just the surface of the ocean, but you find the body of water underneath, and this is where the Holy Spirit can reveal truths to you about what you're seeing on the page, and you receive that in prayer. And I have had some of the most radical truths about the book of Job that he revealed to me with my heart open, and it just rocked my foundation. I talked to two people about that for a couple of the visions that he showed, and they were just aghast, and they changed the subject. But it made perfect sense. I can't go into it here. That's not why I brought this up. But we stopped this time on. We went ahead and flipped left and right, but we stopped over here on chapter 28. The place where wisdom is found is explained. And I thought this was interesting, and as I was reading this, I literally came out. I'm gonna try to read this as he has inspired me to say. Going down to verse 20. So where does wisdom come from? Where does understanding live? It's hidden from the eyes of every living thing. Eye has not seen nor ear heard. Even the birds in the sky can't find it. Death and the grave say. But Jesus overcame the grave. Only reports about it have reached our ears. But God understands the way to it. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He is the only one who knows where it lives. He sees from one end of the earth to the other. He separated sin from the east is from the west. He views everything in the world. He made the mighty wind. He measured out the waters. He gave orders for the rain to fall. He made paths for the thunderstorms. Then he looked at wisdom and set its price. He established it and tested it. He said to human beings, have respect for the Lord. That will prove you are wise. Avoid evil. That will show you have understanding. And the very first chapter of the book of Job described him as a man who had respect for the Lord. And look at what he said over here. Have respect for the Lord. That will prove you are wise. That is just the introduction. Avoid evil. That will show you have understanding. But first comes respect for the Lord. So that means you have to acknowledge him, which means also that goes hand in hand with the understanding. And you see how the parallels that I gave to those verses earlier that I mentioned to the New Testament, this is why the New and the Old just mesh very well together when they're put in their proper perspective. And one other thing that I brought up here, and I asked this question to both of them, and one of them kind of fought me on it. I said, when you're listening to God speak, especially when you speak to Job, especially in that one section when God keeps asking Job question after question after question, it's like, where were you when I'm, made the earth? Have you ever thought, how would he sound if that were Jesus talking to Job? And one of the people I was talking to was just kind of frozen. The other one said, that wasn't Jesus talking to Job. And I said, really? He said, no, that was the Father. He said things to him differently. And I said, you know this? And he stopped. Didn't Jesus say that didn't the Bible say he's the perfect representation of God? Didn't Jesus say, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father? So when you hear Jesus speak, how is it any different than how God is speaking to Job here? How is the tone any different? And he said, well, what's the big difference with the tone? You can say, and I gave a video on this, and I'll put the link to my video below, to that how you can say something one way can change its meaning if you just change the tone of that. I've had multiple situations where I've been in churches and I've been listening to different teachings, and I've heard the same verse taught different ways simply by the way that God is saying certain things. I'll give one example of my video from the very beginning, when you say from the book of Genesis, when Adam was hiding from God, and God says, "Where are you?" How is God asking that? Is he saying it to Adam like this? "Where are you?" Like, I'm going to go ahead and come get you. Is he saying it like this? "Where are you?" Like, I don't know where you are. Obviously, that's a lot of hooey, because God's omnipresent, so he knows where he was. Or could he be looking directly at Adam, face to face, eye to eye, and say, "Where are you? Where's my child? Where's the one that I walked with in the cool of the evening? Where's the one who trusted me?" Same verse, 3 different perspectives. And the way the Bible is taught, if it's a person who's teaching it who knows the heart of God and knows the way how loving Father is talking to his children, how you're teaching particular verses in there, we can all agree, if we're Christians, we've accepted Jesus in our heart. If it says God said this, we can agree God said that. But how did he say it? This is why being such an effective communicator determines how well you can teach the gospel and teach the heart of God to a real enthusiastic listener. People are hungry for God. We're always born with that one piece that only God can fill. We try to design puzzle pieces ourselves that kind of fit in there, but only God can do that. The only piece that fits in our heart is God. There is no other piece that can fit. We're made to be his children. And of course, you have people from the outside saying, "Well, that's manipulation, that's control, if he's only made me just to love only one person." But that's beyond all expectations. We're setting our expectations over here for all that we think that we can do, and God sets limitless, because all that occurs in the Spirit, something that is not fully accentuated and taught. And how we listen to God is always one of the strongest determinants of how we understand his heart. There's no better way. The book of Job has been taught in a lot of churches that I've heard that God is just being vindictive. Satan comes to God twice in there and said that, and God said, have you considered my servant Job? It's basically almost the same dialogue back to back. And Satan's response is almost the same back to back. The second time, of course, was referring to physical situations. But here's something that I want to leave you with as well. And again, I can't go any deeper than this. I can't. It's going to be too radical. But if you pray and you have your heart open, the Holy Spirit can reveal to you truths. Remember, underneath is where all the knowledge is. Underneath, you can read something, but you can misinterpret something on the surface. But the Holy Spirit can actually guide you underneath and show you a truth. It can show you things that are not immediately on the page, that work accordance to what's being taught in the Bible and accordance to the true nature of God. I think by simply saying everything on the surface and keeping it here, that's where we get misinterpretations and through our own understanding. And that's why we have so many different teachings and so many different denominations and so many disagreements and so many things that we hinge on belief and not knowledge. And when somebody offends your belief, if somebody goes against your belief, that's what causes you to get defensive. If somebody goes against something that I know, it doesn't offend me. I just walk to the side. This is why people don't offend me when it comes to talking about God. Either it's right or it's wrong. I know right away. If it's wrong, move on. I know what's right. But if it's something that you believe, something that you think is right, and you're passionate about what you believe, but you're not sure that you know it, and somebody tries to come along and tries to dissuade you and tell you otherwise, you get angry. You get offended. There's the offense right there. Those are the people in religion that get offended, because religion is focusing less on a knowledge of God and more of a personal understanding of God from what they think, not by what they know that they experience with God every single day. It's through their own limited understanding, by just what they think about it. By just putting 2 plus 2, this verse plus that verse equals this, well, then God must have done this. No, okay, it's got to be that. Do you know God? Have you talked with him? Have you actually just experienced him? Let him live inside you. Let him live through you. Just experience his love. Let him hug you and embrace you. Let him show you things in the Spirit. That's another thing. Again, I don't want to get too far off tangent. I was talking about Job here, but all of this kind of works one step in with the other one. But we are so focused on the physical. We are so focused on what God can provide us in the physical, what he can show us in the spiritual, and have that be a foundation is just beyond it's just incapable. We see it's beyond our understanding, very true, but whoever has respect for the Lord has understanding, and if you have respect for the Lord, you have to know him in order to have respect for him, because then you know his heart. You see how the surface only starts it when you begin to know him. You'll know beneath the surface through that relationship and that understanding with being with him. Then it becomes a knowledge, then it becomes a foundation. Faith is just a spark which lights a flame, but when the flame is already lit, you're operating with knowledge. You're operating with heat, or as they say, cooking with grease. But yeah, it was a great talk. We went ahead and we actually stopped at 28. We were just going back and forth. We started at the beginning. We were reflecting back and forth. But we came to the part about wisdom, about wisdom. And when I was reading those, I immediately stopped and I looked and I said those verses back, and I saw the reflection between that and Jesus, and it was like, this is so amazing. And that's when we talked about Jesus. But when you're listening to God speak to Job, are you hearing Jesus, or are you hearing someone's angry interpretation of God? You know, it's really interesting too, because when Jesus was tempted, when he was in the wilderness and Jesus said, you will not tempt the Lord your God. One of the things in the very beginning that we started talking about is that, Satan was tempting and God went ahead and just said, okay, you can go ahead and test him. Well, if God's already outside of time, he's seen the end of what Job has already gone through. So really, it was not a tempting of God at all. He knew what was going to happen. Because again, like I said before, Satan is a spirit, but when he was cast down, now he's in the carnal aspect of time. He's still a spirit, but he does not see in the spirit. He's now operating under the carnal aspect of time. God is seeing everything. Satan can only see what's right in front of him, like every one of us can. Satan is operating with very limited resources. God's operating in the complete understanding of everything. So when he was putting Job in this situation here, are we sure God put him in that situation? Pray about this. Let the Holy Spirit reveal you some truths. I pray I hope he reveals you a lot of the same truths that he showed me. And again, it's too deep to go into at this point. But my gosh, this one truth was just so radical, and so I have not heard it at any single lesson. And that reshaped the entire way I read the entire book. If he shows you the same exact thing, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And again, it goes beyond the page. It's beneath the surface, and it's what his Spirit can show you. It was a great talk. We had a great night. Again, it was just, my mouth is dry from talking. We had a wonderful discussion. But I hope you read this, and I hope you let his Spirit show this to you in a really new light, and see how it just kind of just brightens up your day. Lets you see things in a whole new way. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.